Hello, and welcome to another episode of Loremaker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm Adam Wieser, associate writer here at CIG Los Angeles, and if you haven't had a chance to watch this show yet, it's an opportunity for a member of the lore team to sit down, give you a personal tour of a star system that you'll be seeing in Squadron 42 and Star Citizen, give you a little history behind it, and maybe some of the astronomical data that helped build out the world that we're creating here. Anyways, today we are off to a strange system, one that has a name that really doesn't do it justice. And today that's why you're going to find that we are here in the Null system. Now, Null, that name came from the French nav jumper who originally discovered it, a man by the name of Antoine Lebec, who came across it in 2290. Now, when he came back from this historic trip, he was asked, what did he find? And he responded with the one word that has now stuck with the system ever since: null. Now, obviously, there is something in this system. He was just disappointed that at the time, it was the first system humanity had ever discovered that didn't have any habitable land. It was literally the first time that in man's journey through the stars that they stifled humanity's expansion. Previous to this, humanity had only ever lived in the Sol system. They discovered Croshaw in 2271, and they discovered Redder in 2287. So all of those systems had habitable areas or were able to be terraformed for human habitation. And the Null system was the first one that had no naturally habitable land due to the fact that the terraforming technology we had at the time wasn't advanced enough to be able to deal with the basically astronomical phenomenon that's at the heart of the system. And if you see here on the actual star map built by the wonderful team up at Turbulent, the sun at the center of the Null system is almost kind of like getting bigger and smaller, and that's because it is a classical Cepheid variable sun. Now, what this means is that it expands and contracts, it increases in diameter and temperature, and it kind of gets bigger and smaller. Being a classical Cepheid means that it does this in a very kind of like regular behavior, which is great for astronomers because they can see the brightness and the time and the amplitude that it changes, and it's very consistent. So as a marker in the star in the sky to be able to watch and kind of judge stuff by, it's great for astronomy purposes, but makes it absolutely terrible for human habitation. This one at the center of the Null system is an F main sequence, yellow, white in color. And again, the representation here is just, it's not to scale, like the sun would probably scale up a little bigger than that. But if we dig on in and see exactly why we never really were able to habitate here, we will go to the first system or the first planet in the system, Null 1. Now this is a dwarf planet. It's a rocky dwarf planet. Obviously extremely uninhabitable because of its location. When the sun does expand, it burns away more and more of this dwarf planet every single time. So no reason for you to ever go and visit Null 1. Null 2 is just a little bit further out. And this is an iron planet, which the core of the planet has actually been exposed due to all the heat of the expanding sun in the system, and it's actually cracked it so the gases can be seen leaving from the crack in the mantle of this planet. Of course, there might be valuable minerals there, but its proximity to the sun makes it a place that you're not going to want to visit. Now, if we actually back out a little bit further, we're still in the Null system here. We're going all the way back, and here you go. Here is the first planet in the system by the name of Cole that humans have actually spent some time and actually have a little bit of space on. Now, even though humanity's terraforming has never really advanced to the point where they wanted to do anything in this system, there were 3 different times that we tried to see if we could figure it out. They were all quickly abandoned. One of those attempts was at a research station, which is here on the planet of Cole. The landing zone is named Char, very, very aptly, because as you can see as we kind of like back out from this planet, it's on the very edge of the habitable zone. So as Lebec's first description of this planet was, it's barely habitable when the sun is small. So when it expands, when it goes into one of its phases, it makes life even more unbearable here on Cole. It has an atmosphere that's also made up of ammonia and sulfur, which is toxic and means that environmental suits and respirators are needed just to even go to spend any time in the atmosphere, another mark against it. But again, an old research station named Char is located here. It was long since abandoned by the scientists, and various squatters have moved in over the years, though again, the population is very low. If we back on out again, we'll go out a little bit wider to the fourth planet in the system, which is Null 4. Now this is a gas giant which is has a constant electrical storm kind of raging across the surface. It's really beautiful, and it's something that's visually very stunning, but it's also very deadly. That means ships that might get a little bit too close to try to get that perfect photo opportunity, or those who are even foolish enough to think that maybe they could try to refuel or something from this gas giant, can meet with grave danger and even have their ships destroyed. They say that the Lagrange points around Null 4 are basically collectors of old ships that had basically been destroyed by the storms raging here, and then end up eventually floating out to Lagrange points and kind of staying there. So a beautiful planet, but again, not a place that you are going to want to visit. The one planet in the system where, even though it's not terraformed, humans have found a way to survive in a way for an extended period of time is way out here. It's Hashanah. It's the fifth and final planet in the system, and it's even really hard to see exactly how far away the sun is. This is a terrestrial, it's a desert planet, again, not terraformed. It does have a toxic atmosphere, which again makes it very difficult for anyone to breathe unless you've got an environmental suit and respirator there, which is one of the reasons it hasn't really been, there's not a huge population. It also has extremely high gravity, which again is an issue, and also the source for probably one of the biggest follies in all of the UEE Navy history. Back in 2571, right in the heart of the Messers' rise to power and their idea that humanity needs to impose their will and the UE needs to impose themselves on the stars in every way, shape, or form, a carrier by the name of the UES Olympus basically followed a band of outlaws into this region of Null. The outlaws headed for Hashanah, and as they got close to the atmosphere, the captain of the UES Olympus, whether through just sheer hubris or incompetence, followed a little too closely and got into the actual strong atmosphere of the planet, and the gravity basically grabbed the ship and crashed it down into the planet's surface. Most of the people on board were killed. There was a fighter squadron that was with the Olympus at the time. They fought valiantly for hours, but in the end, they were all eliminated. This massing hulk of a ship just kind of sat there in the desert. Various scrappers and some of the people that were living on Hashanah at the time went to go and kind of like salvage the parts from the ship, only to realize that this massive capital ship that was half in the sand and half out was a better place to live than any place else on the planet. So instead of stripping it, they decided to turn it into what is now known as Olympus, and it's still there. It is still filled with bazaars and people from different sides of the law that you're not quite sure you want to deal with. It's technically run by a Devaran by the name of Nexus, who kind of stalks the halls. He runs basically one of the main outlaw gangs that are based in that area, and he does keep a strong kind of like hold on who is actually coming to the planet and what kind of business is being done there. Because again, like the Nix system, like Levski, which you can visit now in the PU, it's a location that they don't want to be known for just abject criminal activity, because that might invite the ire of the UEE and have them come in. So Nexus does roam the halls here and make sure that the criminal activity there is done in a way that isn't so blatant that it's going to draw too much attention. And And if we just back out really quick, and I want to show you exactly why they're concerned about this, it's that null has 4 jump points that connected to it. It has 1 large jump point, which if we spin around here, you see takes us all the way to the Centauri system. It's got it's got 1 medium jump point, which if we spin this way, takes us to the Vega system. And it's got 2 small jump points. One which goes to Croshaw, which is how it was originally discovered from Sol, Croshaw onto Null. And it also has 1 small jump point into Caliban, into a Van Duel system. So this is kind of interesting because every once in a while, very small Van Duel raiding parties are known to kind of like work the Null system. And Nexus, and basically Nescus, the Tavaran outlaw captain of Olympus, has even organized truces among the outlaw packs within the system at times to basically stop going after each other and start turning their attention towards these smaller kind of Van Duel packs that show up every once in a while. So that was your quick introduction to the Null system. Very interesting, very old system in the history of humanity, but one that, again, it was the first time that a star system basically stopped human expansion and said this is not necessarily an ideal place to live, but yet again, humanity found some way to make it work. Thanks for watching. Tune in again for another episode of Loremaker's Guide to the Galaxy to see another system and learn a little bit more about it. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. For the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42, you can subscribe to our channel, or you can check out some of the other shows, and you can also head to our website at www.robertsspaceindustries.com. Thank you very much for watching.